So I got this is interesting too, because I thought about that too. I got the impression that that there's like a curious mix of worldliness and naivete that he has passed on to them as he's raising them. Because on the one hand, it's like, okay, he raised them to be thieves and con artists because that's the life he knows. If
they got in a fight, did they win? That's important.
Right. If they got in a fight, did they win? They know how to, like, he's taught them how to defend themselves. But at the same time, he's trying to protect them and keep them innocent. And so therefore hasn't told them about, oh, this might be spoilery. Can we be spoilery?
Yeah, pause. For the viewer's sake, like talking about TV and a show that's been on the air for a while, if you have not seen Arcane episode 1, pause this and go watch it, because we're gonna spoil the hell out of the episode. It's kind of hard not to pick it apart without talking about everything that actually happens, and there are definitely some spoilery stuff. I'm gonna try to refrain from late season spoilers when I'm talking, but there will be spoilers for this episode for sure.
Okay, good. So, obligatory spoiler pause observed. He doesn't tell them that essentially he has a deal with the enforcers that we'll stay out of your town, you stay out of ours, and like Joelle said, that's pretty important information. He tells them to stay out of the town, but he doesn't tell them why. And he's obviously very inexperienced at raising teenagers. Because, speaking as someone who has raised at least one teenager, that is an absolute recipe to get them to do the thing that you told them not to do, is to say, don't do this, end of story. I'm not going to explain myself.
Full disclosure, my oldest is only 4, so I have more experience raising teenagers. However, I have been a division officer. And in the Navy, the average age of the enlisted person is 18, which means you get a lot of 17-year-olds.
Yeah.
Are mature, but not all of them.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a basic leadership principle, regardless of your relationship to said teenager. If you tell them to do something and you don't give them an explanation that they're satisfied with, they're going to go and do the thing.
The explanation doesn't have to be the real explanation. It just has to be one that people can accept.
Right. Well, yeah, absolutely.
Well, and that's I think you're both correct about his error. I will say I don't think that's a writing mistake, though. I think it's believable in the character. And furthermore, I find that just to keep us in position where we are in the show. So we have the opening sequence we talked about a lot. We have the robbery that we're talking about and the fallout from it. And like you said, you do learn as they're dealing with the fallout from this robbery in the richest part of town that, oh crap, that was a very prominent family that owned that building you blew up. And Vander has this deal cut with law enforcement. I can understand why Vander doesn't want his adopted daughters to think he's a stooge. And he's not a stooge, but if it were common knowledge that he was cutting a deal with the cops, it probably undermines his position. He probably doesn't want his kids effectively for this point to look at him that way, but he knows it's necessary. So I think it's a great conflict for Vander that he's stuck in between. This is how I keep us more or less free, and I keep the city from erupting into war. If there were any lesser stakes than this, there's no way I'd probably cut this deal, but this is what I have to do. And I don't think they would understand if I tell them. Still a mistake on his part. Cause like you said, if you don't give your kids or your subordinates, Joelle, to your point, if you don't give them an adequate reason and just keep saying, because I said so, and the frustration mounts, eventually they're going to get mutinous. And that's where we're at. Go ahead, Joelle.
Side note, I'm hoping that this is a hook for later, either later in the season or in future seasons. And I'm interested in Kacey's take on it. So they see an airship distant. We don't get a close up of it. We don't get the details. And Powder says, I want to fly on one of those one day. And Milo says, I want to blow one up. And so
I'm going to shoot one down. Yeah,
shoot one down.
Yeah.
Are they going to be on rival airships having a battle someday, the two of them? Because I mean, I didn't play the origin game that led to this, but I'm generally aware that Powder and Vi are not bosom buddy sisters in the game. And so I'm interested to see if we have that split and then that conflict happen in this season, or if that comes later, or how it all works. I mean, it could be in Reinvention and it might not go there, but
yeah.
I will say the airships play into it. They're not. You're not going to get Napoleonic airship battles yet. At least not in season 1. I'll go ahead and lower your expectations a little bit there. So, but there is some cool action on airships. I will say.
And one of the things on the counter in the apartment / laboratory that they rob is a really giant flange. A tube with sides to rivet onto something. And we haven't seen anything that goes with, but there were enough technical details that even though they've got magic rocks that blow up, they also have a lot of tech that actually fits together. So I'm curious what kind of tubing they've got that needs that big of flange size. Because that's pretty heavy to be used on an airship. Are there steam ducts that provide power in some way? Under the United States Naval Academy, there is a bunch of old steam piping that's about that size, and midshipmen are absolutely not allowed to be traveling under there ever. So of course I've never been there, and that's why I don't know what it looks like. But it kind of the tech level of this place seems, with the addition of the magic rocks, a little bit steam power. So I'm going to be curious to see if in background we get more of that kind of stuff.
Well, and it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I noticed that during the escape, the kids jump down what looks like a sewer pipe or a garbage pipe, right? So, when you it's about that same size. So clearly, piping is a thing that is somewhat ubiquitous in this world. And I got to be honest, I love this aesthetic, right? I love steampunk stuff anyway, but specifically this show, my second overall impression of it is just that it's beautiful. It is the art style I thought was gorgeous. But even I mean, yes, let's talk about the art style, but let's talk about that in a minute. But even within the art style, that kind of like Art Nouveau aesthetic that you see throughout the fancy town. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names.
Piltover.
Yeah, throughout Piltover is so beautiful, and I absolutely love it. And I absolutely loved that they carried that over into like a dark nouveau aesthetic once they went down into the slum area.
Mirror version of it. Yeah, totally.
I thought that was really, really well done, really beautiful. And I think it's really cool. One of the things that I do love about the steampunk aesthetic overall is that the design of the thing is as important, if not more important, I would say in good steampunk, the design is as important, but not more important than the function of the thing. And those pieces of technology and those pieces of mechanical, whatever they were, that they found in that workshop, that had all these cool workings and whatnot. Even the magic rocks, they were beautiful as well. Yeah. I dug that. I thought that really kind of like added to the world building and the feel and the like immersion of watching the show.
I agree completely, and I'd add too that I think I can't remember the name. I think it's Studio Mir. I think it's a French animation studio that did this, and apparently it's they paid top dollar for the animation they got, and it shows. One of the things, I agree with everything you said about aesthetics, and furthermore, one of the things that impressed me the most is the feeling of weight and the physics engine. Not like I'm not a STEM guy, but the intuitive feel of when they're running from the enforcers and they're sliding down something and their feet impact on a pipe, or they jump and you can feel the impact in their joint, or the fights when even though they take more damage than kids their age might be able to take, maybe if you're worried about realism, which I'm not, but the feel of a punch impacting a face and how it's animated, it all feels more kinetic and more real than, and I'm going to take a pot shot at my beloved Marvel Cinematic Universe, it feels more real than the CGI shitfests you get at the end of most live action movies that are action adventure. This feels like it has more impact. And subconsciously, as writers, like we don't, we're all authors of short stories and novels, but I really appreciate about this medium that they understand it's so important to have your physics feel real because it creates the subconscious assumption of stakes. It's like if it feels like an impact, people can get hurt. Even if plot-wise and story-wise, this person is not going to die right here. It still helps you feel like there are stakes here because this is a real universe with real humans who, if they fall far enough or take a hard enough hit, will be incapacitated or killed. So I think that's just such brilliant work on the animator's part, and I really appreciated that right off the bat.